creeping in, and we'll be talking about it in the mix later on. In fact, not later on, let's do it right now. I don't want to keep you waiting for too long. You saw some of his music videos, so let's get right into it and welcome him on my hot seat. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you tonight? Looking
Fantastic.
good.
Thank you, thank you.
Are you going anywhere after this?
No, not at all. Just, this is my date with you.
Lovely. I'm grateful. Thank you for coming. And
thanks for having me.
You've been in this industry when it comes to music, when it comes to performing. I've watched you perform. Your acoustic performances are quite a hit. I've seen your journey when it comes to brand ambassadoring, and of course you've really just maneuvered your career when it comes to doing different things and trying to do things that will not just kind of get you going viral, but things that are true to yourself, which I think is great, because I mean, if you wanted, you could have started doing gengeton a while ago, but no, you didn't do that.
True story,
right?
Definitely,
so you have your niche, which I'm sure is a bit like, I can hear Afropop, R&B, a bit of both, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us, how did you decide firstly that this is what you want to focus on, and then maybe you can take us way back to when it all started and take us through those days, the olden days, back in the days, how things were for you.
No, I think I've had the pleasure of being in the industry for long enough to realize that you have to sort of be multifaceted. You have to be good at your music, but also understand the marketing side of it, the brand aspect. And so I remember even like in 2015 and the likes, I was constantly pitching to brands to see what collaborations we can do together. I did a couple of videos with the Ubers and all of these other brands, and I was always very conscious of the fact that you have to partner with like-minded brands to be able to benefit yourself. So in terms of maneuvering brands, that's how I've always operated, and trying to like help my music as well. But the music started a long time for me. I was in it from 2008.
Wow!
When I started working as a studio intern, actually at Eric Wainaina and Tim Rimbui's studio.
Oh, okay.
So I got my first.
That's
taste.
a great place to start.
Yeah, no, it was honestly, it was like a dream come true. I was working with two legends, two pioneers, producer and artist, and it really put me on the path of greatness, because I learned from the best. I had no idea about production. I'd never been in a studio before, and first thing I was doing was recording Eric's album. So it taught me so much in such a short period of time. By the time I was 20, I was ready for my first song, and that was Scamare's. And that really launched me into the industry. And from there, it was, as they say, the rest is history.
That's amazing. The fact that you actually started off interning at quite a place that's established already. The likes of Eric Wainaina, who obviously is one of the OGs, the legends of the Kenyan music industry and Kenyan music scene. So how exactly how did you figure out that this is what I want to do? Growing up, were you always very passionate about music, or was it something that you discovered along the way in high school and uni?
I was so passionate about music. I always, like, from when I was a kid, listening to Michael Jackson, Tracy Chapman, like, there are just so many influences that I had that I'll always be performing as a kid.
The king of pop,
the
Michael
king
Jackson,
of pop,
back in the day.
So I used to, grab a little, like, wooden mwiko and sing. And so it's something that I always had a real passion for. In school, I used to sing, I was in the choirs and the likes. And so eventually it got to a point where I guess even my parents knew that, okay, let's get this kid, into something. So that he doesn't.
Interested in the arts.
Yeah, absolutely. I played instruments and the likes. So when I got to work in the studio, it was just like, okay, this is a culmination of me having a passion for it.
It solidified what you always thought.
Yeah, but the craziest thing is like being in the studio with like Eric Wainaina, and I got to work with quite a few sort of they used to call them like Afrofusion, neo soul type artists, Temi, Eric Wainaina, Chris Adwa. I worked with quite a bunch of them back then. And I also quickly realized that, okay, this is not really my genre. So as much as I was like working with them, I was like, okay, but what do I want to do? And that, I won't even lie, is probably the hardest thing for an artist to do, is discover their sound. Because you can be surrounded by people, incredible artists, who do incredible music, but it's not necessarily speaking to your identity and your inspirations, because you know you grew up on different music. So I really had to take time and sort of develop my own sound, and so that's when I started producing and learning how to like sort of create something that I feel like I would sound good on.
Okay.
But I didn't actually think I would be the artist on it, so I'd produce for other rappers and young friends of mine who were in the rap game, and then eventually I would do like little hooks for them, and I was like, you know what?
Let's try this.
I can do it better than them.
Yeah, yeah.
So eventually I was just like, you know what? My cousin Mad Tracks called me to his studio that he was just setting up, called Red Republic, and he's like, Ndegz, you know what? I think me and you can work on this thing together. And we ended up, you know, doing a lot of music together, and that's basically when my career started as a solo artist.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you would say there was a little bit of luck and there was a little bit of talent involved.
Absolutely.
Because you were just like, well, let's do this. I already have, you know, some great productions here and things that I've like produced for other people. Yeah. So let me just step on it and let's see what happens. Exactly. Let's see what happens next.
You're never too sure on what's going to happen. Like, I always knew that I wanted to be a performing artist, to be on stages. I just didn't know the path to it. So it was like, and then you're obviously shy because you don't, in as much as I had mentors and the likes of Tim and Eric, you know, it's sort of, you have to help yourself.
Of course.
So you have to be ready to step up to the plate.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what, you know, leaving and going to like Red Republic gave me that confidence of, you know, like-minded guys who are hungry for success and fame. We're just like, yo, let's do this. So we used to, I mean, we had so much hunger for making music. It was a good time. It was a really good time.
It's nice to hear. Ndegz, let's talk about your collaboration with Johnny Walker, because I feel like that's something that has been really fruitful for you. You've been quite consistent with it, and it seems like it's something that you're doing. You're kind of intertwining two different things, that is content creation as well as your music. You put them together. You've even produced songs, like your own songs, and then produced ads, which I thought was very interesting. When I saw that, I was like, this is very different. I've never seen something like this before, specifically for the brand. So how did you come up with that idea?
I think, you know, to begin with, Johnny Walker is just is an amazing brand, and it's an amazing brand to work with because it's a globally recognized brand, number one.
Absolutely.
And then it also speaks truly to some of the elements that I embody, and that's, you know, perseverance, persistence, and, you know, just being a go-getter, being bold and walking fearlessly in what you do. And that's, I guess, why the tagline is keep walking.
Right.
And so I guess the partnership works seamlessly because, you know, and as much as it's a great whiskey, what it speaks to, we have the same sort of brand elements. So to me, the challenge is always how do I merge my creative spirit with its, you know, its boldness and and its markers in the industry. And I think that's where now I find, you know, I start creating songs and, you know, trying to tie it into like my process, because you know, as you may find creatively, a lot of the time as artists, we have a drink while we're in the studio or while we're creating. So just to incorporate that and show people, you know, how Johnny Walker can be enjoyed outside of the bar.
Yeah, because we have this perception that, you know, the only time that you actually drink whiskey per se, because otherwise it's always just beers. So whiskey or anything that's hard drinks, it's at the club or at the bar.
So it's an interesting challenge also, you know, to also show people that, you know, you're part of this brand, and this is, and honestly, I'll tell you something. It's really interesting. When I was growing up, my dad has always loved Johnny Walker, and I used to collect bottles, like his boxes.
Interesting.
Limited edition boxes and stuff like that, and I used to collect them and put them on the walls. Me and my friends used to call it the Wall of Black.
Okay.
So I don't know, call it manifesting or call it
clearly,
you know.
it seems like it worked.
It worked, and so I guess now I have bottles of my own to put up on my wall.
Add to that wall.
Exactly.
We love it. We love that. You know, the fact that I feel like you said you started in 2008, that's when you officially decided that this is what I want to do, because you were an intern, and then I think fast forward to 2015, right? That's when you released your singles.
Yeah, well, actually in between, I guess Scumerays came out in around 2010,
Okay.
which was, you know, a feature. So it really did catapult my name into the industry. And that was the first time people had heard of Ndegz.
Right.
And
then
you know,
your own single.
yeah, well, so my own single actually came out. It's actually not even like the people who know, but actually my first single was called All She Wanna Do.
Okay.
Yeah, which came out in like 2012. And if you look hard enough on the internet, you can find it.
Google didn't say that.
No, you won't find it there.
I was like, wait,
This
no.
is like, you know, it's like those mixtapes, those hidden tapes that like that the hardcore fans will know.
Right.
So there were there were 3 tracks that came out that time. There was All She Wanna Do, Lift Me Up, and a track with Big Pin actually called Wine Up. So did those 3, but I didn't feel like I'd really launched myself with them.
Yes.
So in 2015 is when I was like, you know what? Let me rebrand this Ndegz thing and put it out on my terms, because I also felt like I was just, you know, doing it because I was in the studio with creatives, they were putting out music. So 2015 is kind of when I said, you know what? Let me take the wheel and be in control of this vehicle called Ndegz. And bam, Twende Nyumbani was sort of the first major breakthrough of that of that ride.
It's amazing. It's very nice to see that, you know, despite the fact that you started off at that time, 2010, 2012, 2015, and now is when you're like kind of relaunching yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of your I guess collaboration. You're featuring Abbas, if I'm not wrong. And this is something that I think is going to be very interesting because you're both very different.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be quite a contrast to see the two of you together sharing
from different
space.
eras.
Exactly.
Absolutely different.
It'll be
eras.
very interesting. So why this particular collaboration? Why Abbas?
So you know what? It wasn't something that I thought about. The one thing that I'll tell you is I'd always wanted a collaboration with Abbas. I've been a huge Abbas fan. Their songs, so I'll tell you a crazy story. When I met Abbas for the first time, was the day we recorded the song. We met in the club, told him I like his music, I've been a fan. He's like, you know what? That's dope. I was like, so would you like to get in studio sometime? And he's like, how about now?
What?
Yeah. So we left the club.
Seriously?
Went back to my studio and we laid the track down.
That is very interesting.
But just to tell you how much of an Abbas fan I was, I had some songs of his from back in the day, some songs that probably even shouldn't have because I stole them from the old studio I used to work at. But I played him some of his songs and he couldn't even remember them. He's like, what? How do you have this?
Wow.
He's like, he hadn't heard that since the day he recorded it. So it was just such a blessing to be in studio with somebody who, you know, when your idols jump on the track with you, it's just such a blessing. So
of course, and the fact that you did the same day.
Same day. I mean, honestly, big up to him. He's a creative genius. He didn't need a warm up. He's just like straight off the bat. What you need, done.
That's amazing. It's. I mean, that's why we call them the legends, right?
No, facts.
That's why they're the OGs.
No, he's
any other artists that you are probably thinking of collaborating with in the pipeline? Something interesting that you've got coming up?
I mean, this project is a series of songs that I'm going to release. And there are already a couple of collaborations on it.
Ooh.
I don't want to give anything away yet.
You must give us an exclusive one, a tiny one.
Nah,
no?
You know what? If
Your
I
team's
do,
right there.
If I do, people will be like, "Yo, man, why didn't you tell us?"
Okay.
But you know what I will tell you? I'll give you the exclusive when it drops.
Okay.
So I promise to come back here and give you the exclusive when it drops.
Cool.
But yeah, apart from the ones that are already done, definitely looking to work with some of the new Kenyan artists that are coming up, because I think like there are just so many incredibly talented Kenyans that are putting our music on the map, and I think that it's important for me to also touch base and see what synergies we have.
100%. So let's talk about the fact that when I watch you perform, I really like the fact that you have like a bit of a choreography going on. You know, you're the kind of person who actually performs, which is good to see. And I mean, you mentioned earlier on that Michael Jackson was one of your idols back in the day. So it's nice to see that you've drawn inspiration from someone who's was quite a performer, was the king of entertainment. So in terms of your stage performances, do you know, how long does it take to put something together? And in terms of coming up with like a routine, do you have backup dancers? Because we do know that right now TikTok is where it's at.
TikTok's where it's at.
To push your song, you need to market it via TikTok. And then obviously most of the times it blows up, it goes viral. And then of course people start listening to it more and more.
Absolutely.
So is that something that you've got planned?
No, definitely. I think, beauty is a lot of the songs that I have are danceable, and that I produce them so that, people can actually dance to them. Obviously now we're in a generation where everybody's a dancer, and it's a beautiful thing, because it's like everybody can express themselves. Exactly. And I mean, shout out to you. You're an amazing dancer.
Thank you.
So I think it's something that I definitely, so first of all, even with the performances, for me, it's always about putting on a show. And whether it's an acoustic set and you've got, an amazing band and background vocalists, or whether it's, a hyped up set with dancers.
You kind of give me like Bruno Mars vibes.
You know what? That's actually, he's definitely one of the guys I look up to when
you're performing.
When performing, because it's swaggy, it's suave.
It's got like style to him,
and it's
smooth.
It's musical in as much as it is entertaining, and I think that's for me where like that's where I want to play. I don't want to just come and dance and then guys like the music was horrible, but just to be able to deliver musically and also from a performance perspective.
Right.
And on the dance thing, trust me, I'm coming onto TikTok hard. In a couple of weeks,
we're waiting.
We're gonna do some dance challenges, and and I'll definitely rope you in on that.
Okay, cool. We're ready for that. Ndegz, let's talk about funding your projects when it comes to music videos, when it comes to marketing for an upcoming song or an album, or just trying to promote your music out there and marketing it in the best way possible. How do you manage that? Because I do know some artists actually have a label that manages them, and then some are solo, but they do have some funding coming in from investors or sponsors or just big corporates backing them. So how are you able to manage that, in the sense like your upcoming tracks? Do you have maybe a budget for music videos? Is it something that you plan? Is that in the mix? What's your plan moving forward?
So as far as financing goes, I'll tell you, and that's sort of where we are in the industry, that we are such a young industry that we haven't really gotten to the point where we have enough labels that are willing to put money behind us. And I think it's just that we're in the infancy stage of these things, but I can see growth. And I mean, the other day I went to the launch of the Recording Industry of Kenya, which is basically an outfit that's trying to, unionize artists and create, start to create the foundations and structure of an industry, because we're not really recognized by the government. I mean, we don't have a CS of music. We don't have, there's so many things that as artists we've asked for, including, an increase in the percentage of music that's played by local stations and the likes. Now, those are the avenues in which we would be able to finance ourselves. But some of these things are not being met, so it means that we have to go into our own pockets.
Absolutely.
Into the pockets of family and friends to support and drive our passions. So
have another sort of
another income. Exactly,
right.
Absolutely. Which, I mean, still at the end of the day is going into your own pocket, because you're diverting money from where you could be spending it on a new car and the likes, and putting it back into something else. So I think that's where a lot of artists are. And I always say, man, it's a beautiful struggle, because nothing in life comes for free. And I think you'll enjoy the fruits of your success a lot more when you've really worked painstakingly hard for it. So I mean, that's where we're at. That's where I'm at. But I have no doubt that the grass is greener.
Absolutely. And Ndegz, let's talk about the fact that I feel like mental health is such a big topic right now, especially for men who are stereotyped not to be opening it up enough, not to be having these honest conversations, not just amongst their partners, family, friends, but like amongst each other, with each other. So do you think that's maybe there's a gap there when it comes to having fellow artists or fellow entertainers to be able to open up to, and just calling them and be like, yo, like, listen, man,
I'm going through it.
I'm going through it. What do I do? Like, do you think that's something that I feel needs to be done, especially in the Kenyan industry?
I think what I think a lot of men and women go through it. And especially for men, we get to that point where men don't really like to talk.
Yes.
So, you know, it's almost like you're going through your problems, go through it alone. And especially when you're working in an industry like this where the stress levels are high.
It's very stress intensive.
It is. And, you know, men get used to dealing with rejection from a young age, you know, where, you know, you're going after a girl and she doesn't like you, she says no. So we kind of develop a tough skin. So we kind of end up sometimes lying to ourselves that no, we're okay.
We're fine.
We're fine. You know, you put out a song, it might not do as well as you wanted to. No, I'm fine. So no, definitely we go through it, and I think definitely there need to be avenues where we can discuss these things. But I think it always starts with also your inner circle and just, you know, because it would be very hard for me to reach out to like a fellow artist, you know, just out of the blue and tell them, yo, man, how you feeling? How you doing? You might not be willing to
How's
open
your
up.
heart?
Yeah. But you know what? The other day, I had a very interesting conversation with a fellow entertainer. She's a female, but, you know, we don't know each other that well, but like she was going through, you know, a little disappointment.
Okay.
And, you know, I found myself encouraging her. And I was like, she was shocked, and like I was just like, you know, this is just what we should be doing for each other. It's like, you know,
having more conversations
about like, you know, if this and this happens, you know, keep your head up, because this is all part of the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it is important for us to keep encouraging each other, because it's a tough industry, man.
I love that.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt alone in this industry?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think more so because of the kind of music that I make.
It's very different.
It's very different, and it's very difficult to put my music in a box.
Yeah.
And say it's, as you're saying, you know, it's not gengeton.
It's not.
It's, you know,
not rap.
It's not rap. It's not kapuka. And so it's this blend of, you know, dancehall, Afro pop, Afro beats. You know, it's so, to me it sometimes feels very lonely.
Yeah.
And you don't really have people to be like, yo, man, you know, can I get this beat from you? Because a lot of the times you end up, even working with producers, you end up working with a couple who understand your style, in terms of even just support from the rest of the industry, genre charts, like, you know, there'll be gengeton charts, there'll be gengeton playlists. So, and I guess even now with like a lot of the alternative artists, or what used to be called alternative artists, the Karoons, the Zinnias, it's nice to see them popping up like as top artists, but for a long time they were sort of marginalized as, you know, background vocalists or like Afrofusion artists.
Exactly.
So it's that space where it can be a bit uncomfortable and lonely trying to define yourself as a pop star or a pop artist.
Yeah, interesting. And as we wrap up, I really want you to sing for us an acoustic something. I've watched your videos, and I have to say you have an incredible voice.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think they need to see. I mean, the world needs to really hear it.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
That's your camera.
This is my camera. Okay, which one would you like?
Any.
Okay.
Your favorite.
Ooh, okay. Let me go for the new one, because, you know, it's not been heard yet.
Absolutely.
I don't wanna waste your time. My girl didn't come with me tonight. I don't usually do this, best believe. But the way your body is moving, you're making me weak, yeah. And girl, you're so bad, I really, really want you now. Nicaribia, baby, let me show you how. Yeah, I tell you, come back. When you do that, you're blowing my mind. I cannot go back. Now, so my baby, come. Ever go down. When you slow wine, naskia tam tam. I know it's wrong, but I don't wanna be right. My girl's at home. Will you be my girl tonight?
Love it. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for being here. You know, it was really nice to hear about your story, and it was nice to just hear from you as an artist who is into very unique kind of genre, which we don't really get to hear much in Kenya. So it was nice to hear about your struggles and, of course, your journey as well. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And, of course, we just wish you all the very best in the future. Keep shining, keep thriving, and just keep killing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Ndegz, and we'll do this again next week. Same time, same place, right here on Easy Friday. Make sure you tune in. Coming up next, don't go anywhere, because Cole Jacks is going to be keeping the Friday fever on. Cole Jacks on the decks until 12:30 a.m. I'll see you next week. Good night. Shiksha, Arora signing out.